I'm going to show you how to knit on double pointed needles. I previously showed you how to cast on to a circular needle, but now we're going to do on double pointed needles. I'm going to do the long tail cast on, and I prefer to cast on entirely on one needle, and I will show you. We've done this before. I dip in and I twist so that I have one. It's really just around the needle, but it counts as a stitch. And now if I hold it with my my forefinger, in through the loop on the thumb, grabbing the loop on the finger, and pull it through, I'm going to cast on a total of 15 stitches. I'm going to distribute these onto 3 needles, 5 on each. Double pointed needles usually come in a set of 4 or 5. This is a set of 4, so I have 15 stitches, and I'm going to distribute them somewhat evenly. It doesn't matter really. Knitting instructions that specify double pointed needles will usually give you the number for each needle. I'm just going to put 5 on each needle. I'm going to slip them as if to purl. 2, 3, 4, 5. Move them to the middle, and I'm going to do the next 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now I have a little bit of a jangly mess. So my yarn is coming from this stitch, and it needs to go into this stitch. That's the next one. So I'm going to form a triangle out of these. Knitting instructions always say join for working in the round, or join into a round, being careful not to twist stitches. These are not twisted because they, if you can see, the bottom goes here, here, and here. What twisted looks like is this. See, there's a definite twist in here. It goes around. So make sure not to twist stitches, otherwise you end up with a somewhat of a Mobius, which is a twisted. Being sure not to knit with the tail, because you run out of that. Working with a strand of yarn that leads to the ball of yarn. The first part's a little tricky, but you'll get used to it. Because I knit continentally, as I'm holding this, this is sort of being kept in place just by my hand. I go into the stitch, I wrap it, and I pull it through. And now it's joined. And I'm going to knit 5 stitches. And now I have a circular piece of knitting. What I tend to do is I take a stitch marker and I mark the beginning of the row. I mark the stitch. I don't put it over the stitch because this tends to fall off. There's nothing. Or if you have a stitch marker, you can put it through the first and second stitch. I tend to just mark the first stitch physically and carry that up as needed. So now I have, if you ever put your knitting down and pick it up and you don't know where you've left off and where the next stitch is, you can always tell the last stitch worked is the one that the working yarn is going through. So I know that this was the last stitch worked, so therefore in order this is the next stitch to be worked. I like to hold one of the needles in the crook of my thumb and forefinger. I think I learned that from Meg Swanson. In here, through, I'm going to knit 5, 3, 4, 5, and now this is the free needle. I'm going to go clockwise. I'm going to grab the yarn. I'm going to put the needle I'm not working with in the crook of my thumb. This is hanging loosely. It's not going anywhere. The stitches are snug enough but not too tight. And I'm going to knit 5. And that's how you use double pointed needles. It's not complicated. It can be a little fiddly, but That's the trick.